All right, guys, thanks so much for allowing me to come up and drop some knowledge today. It's always a treat to get to do this and have a captive audience of some of Oregon's best and brightest, without question. I'm going to take you on a little journey today, talk a little bit about our path, and do that through a little bit of a visual example. But first, we have to talk about my path, and I've got to take you back to a time when I was sitting in the seats that you all are sitting in right now. That, my friends, is a 15-year-old Patrick McKelvey. Now, there are a couple choices I would not recommend. First and foremost, the haircut. And secondly, my choice in attire. And no, I did not grow up in the 70s. This is actually about 1995. But being equal opportunity and also invoking my right as the big brother of one of the co-directors, I also have to share with you another blast from our past. Circa freshman year, Megan McKelvey. Notice the long hair, the phone glued to the ear, and the smile that obviously she still bears to this day. Love you, Sister Bear. What I really want to talk with you guys about today is opportunity, okay, about choice. When we look at our journeys, our lives, from the time you were born up until now, you've all followed a path to get exactly where you sit today. And along that path, you've made choices. And life is filled with choices if you think about it. Some are somewhat insignificant, right? What you ate for lunch today, for example, or who you sat by today. You might not even have thought about it. Others impact our lives dramatically, all right? So if I think back to high school, perhaps that's whether or not to take an AP class, okay? Maybe it's where you're planning on going for college. Maybe it's something ethical, right? Maybe you've got the choice to go out and drink some beers with some friends, something you shouldn't be doing, or stay home and take a pass, okay? We're all faced with choices like this all the time, and it's those things that define us. Those significant choices I like to think about as mileposts. So as I stand here in front of you today, with my entire journey behind me that's led me to this spot, on this floor, in this room, in this town, at this camp, and I look back, I see that along my road, along my journey, there are mileposts that dot the horizon, okay? And those are the significant choices that I've made in my life that have brought me here. Sometimes I've made the right choice. Sometimes I've made the wrong choice, okay? So I'll share with you, if we think back to that beautiful picture of me at 15, where I was before I sat in your seat, okay? So I was a pretty good kid for all intents and purposes. My freshman year, I'd been elected from my middle school into our student council. We had 2 junior highs fed into a high school, basically kind of a popularity contest, and I was a class clown, and so one thing just sort of led to another, and there I sat. I played football, right? I got pretty good grades. But I was also making some bad choices. I fell in with some other kids that I met in high school. I was playing music a lot. Alcohol, yep. Drugs, yep, a little bit. Okay? So I didn't know it at the time, because you often don't when you're in the moment, but the decisions I was making at that point affected me and impacted, without a doubt, my journey and what led me to this spot today. Which brings me to a turning point, because I wasn't standing in that spot alone. I was standing there with this guy, my friend Keith. So I'll tell you a little bit about Keith. Keith was an ASB officer, so he was a senior when I was a freshman. He was captain of our soccer team at Gresham High School. He went on to become valedictorian, get a full ride to play soccer at a private college. His freshman year, he was able to go to the NCAA Final Four in soccer and play a significant role on that team. Pretty well-accomplished guy, wouldn't you say? Right? We could all aspire to do some of those things, pretty lofty aspirations. What Keith did for me was something that he probably didn't realize he was doing. Such a good dude, right? Kind of guy, he's always laughing, everybody loves him, doing all the right things, making all the right choices. And so what Keith saw in me, whether he realized it or not, was this freshman who was a little bit timid, maybe a little unsure of himself, what he was doing. And so he did simple things, like coming over to me in our student council class and sitting at my table, right, messing up my hair, throwing me over his shoulder, and jokingly carrying me down the hallway. introducing me to the gorgeous senior girls that he was friends with that I would have never talked to in a million years, right? So stuff that probably was not a big deal to him, but it made a lasting impact on me, obviously, okay? But that's actually not my milepost. That's not the story I want to share with you today. What I want to share with you is something much more significant. And we have to fast forward about a year and a half or so to December of my sophomore year. And I'll never forget this. I'm sitting in the Burger King drive-thru of all places. My best friend's sister's driving the car, and she turns around. We're stopped in the drive-thru. Turns around and says to me, "God, Pat, you must be really broken up." Okay. About Keith. And I'm thinking, Keith who? You know, farthest thing from my mind, I'm thinking big, or Whoppers, not Big Macs. That'd be the wrong drive-thru. And so what I came to find out was Keith had come home from college for the holiday break. He had gotten together with some old friends, and they'd gone to a secluded place, actually the bank of a river, where they knew that nobody would bug them. And they decided to use LSD, acid, hallucinogenic drug. Now, knowing Keith like I did, I don't know if this was his first time. It really doesn't matter. But not the kind of guy that you would suspect would find himself in this situation. So possibly he made one bad choice, because Keith never left that riverbank. He had what people refer to as a bad trip, got into the icy river. Again, this is December in Oregon, right, which you all can relate to. And by the time he was pulled out of that river, his heart had stopped. And they were not able to revive him. Keith died. So why this is important and why I share this story with you today is because this was a crux for me. I learned some very, very valuable lessons that day. And 3 of them stand out in particular. One is, bad things do indeed happen to good people. I was fortunate at 16 years old to have not really lost anyone significant in my life. Some great grandparents and people who are old and have lived long and fruitful lives and left us kind of the natural progression of things. This hit me like a brick to the head. You have to deal with those emotions. And as you sit there, I'm sure some of you are thinking of things that you have encountered in your own life, right? Overcome. Not a very fun situation, but an important lesson to learn. Another lesson was, and probably the most significant to me, is to say what you need to say. Because you never know if you're going to have another chance. I never got to tell Keith what he did for me. I never got to look him in the eye and say, "Dude, thank you." You know, I was in a bad spot, potentially. And you kind of showed me that there was a higher road and a better path. And that hurts. It still hurts today. Almost 20 years later. I carry that around with me. But the good news is, all of this is not for naught, because what this caused me to do was analyze some of the things I was making, things I was doing, choices I was making, and do some things a little differently. So one of those was really to step out of my comfort zone, to take risks, to do things that were uncomfortable to me, right? Including telling people how you feel. And in some roundabout way, that actually led me to, actually not this very room, it was camp, where camp was a long time ago, but a room very much like this. And an experience that actually significantly changed my life. So, when we talk about your paths and your roads, whether that be from the time you were born until now, or perhaps it's from the day you got in a car on Sunday, or a bus, or a van, or rode your bike, I don't know, it's Oregon, how you got here and began this journey with all of us, you can look back and think about certain mileposts, right? Significant events that have happened to you in your life or in your time at this camp, in your personal experience, that have changed you. Is that fair? And the good news is there is a huge road ahead of you, right? We look back from where we came, we look at the road ahead, dotted with all kinds of other mileposts, and this is exciting, right? There are opportunities for you to take choices and shape your life and make it whatever you want to be, which I implore you to do, starting with this week in this experience right now. And so as proof of that, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and share with you another experience that I did for the first time at this camp, and something that was a direct result of this cognitive process I had gone through dealing with this situation. And that was really to find music, and not only find music, but to share music. And that was to stand up on a stage, very similar to that one, and play a song at a talent show, very much like the one that's going to go on this week. And so I would encourage you, maybe it's not talent show, maybe it's in some other form, fashion, shape, size, but to take a risk, to step out and do something that is not in your comfort zone, right? When you come to that divergence in the path, to take the road that maybe feels a little foreign and push your limits, take risks, all right? All right, guys. Transition to the other side. I'm going to switch mics, so bear with me for a sec. This is a bit of a sing-along. I've been I felt a little old this week. You guys hear me okay? Felt a little old this week talking to campers about music and movies and things that were pretty popular when I was your age that are now not really around. But this is a pretty classic song. Anybody know who Tom Petty is? All right, so Tom Petty's most popular song. Anybody want to take a stab at that one? Free Fallin', I heard it. And this is tuned down a half step because I've got a baritone voice, but this was the first song I ever played at OASC camp, so I found it kind of appropriate. What I'd like you to do, if you know the words, is actually sing along. I'm not a professional musician, which may shock some of you. No, just kidding. But the chorus goes something like this. Okay, here we go. She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, in America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses, and a boyfriend too. No chorus on this one. It's a long day, living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard. I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart. Here we go. And I'm free, free falling. You guys sound great. I'm free, free falling. All the vampires walking through the valley, they move west down Ventura Boulevard, and the bad boys are standing in the shadows, and the good girls are home with broken hearts. I'm free, free falling. Yes, I'm free, free falling. Wanna glide down over Mulholland, wanna ride her. Out into nothing, wanna leave this world for a while, and I'm free, free falling. Yes, I'm free, free falling. that somebody's doing the bridge there. I like that. Yes, I'm free, free falling. Thank you all. That was awesome.